Welcome to the new format of Have Horse Will Travel, the podcast, and now also vlog, I guess? That's a stupid word. But anyway, the YouTube soon-to-be sensation, I'm sure, with Apollo, hello, and me. And no, I'm not giving you treats for this, so give up that idea. So, I'm trying out something new today. We'll see how it works between, horses cooperating and technology cooperating, which is probably going to be the bigger challenge. So, oh, hi, Maverick. So, the idea that I had is that maybe instead of just having this as an audio-only podcast, that we could do something fun and also include the horses with some video format on YouTube. And so I'm going to record this as a video, and then I'm going to extract the audio for the podcast. So that way, if you don't do podcasts, you can watch, or if you just prefer seeing Apollo's handsomest nose here, that you can do so and watch instead of listening. So anyway, that's what we're going to attempt today. So I thought for this first one, I would go around and introduce you to Apollo's friends. Of course, you already know Apollo, who is a total attention hog. And I don't know why you think you get treats when I have the camera out, because that's never been a thing. So anyway, Apollo here and I just went on a nice trail ride with another lady who boards here and her horse Reflection. And we went out on just a little, not really sure how many miles it was because I don't keep track of that anymore, but probably 3 or 4 miles. It might have been a little more than that even. Anyway, it's the loop that is the most popular trail around here whenever it's rained, which it has this last week, and so all of the nice trails are muddy, and so it's a little slippery because, as you can see, it's not flat here. It's all hills, mountains, depending on your definition of mountains or hills, I guess. That's a whole nother story. We're not going to get into the semantics of hills and mountains. But it's muddy, and so the trails going up and down as they do around here are pretty slippery on the downhill. So it was just easier to stay on this basically a dirt road, gravel road. So it was not slippery, but it was a nice little ride. It's beautiful California winter right now. We are experiencing a bit of a January heat wave. Today it's in the low 50s. Beautiful sunny weather for riding, and next weekend it's supposed to be even better. So definitely gonna get out here as much as I can. Winters tend to be kind of we get some snow, but mostly they're just chilly and rainy. So having some sunshine is nice, and gotta get out and enjoy the horses while we can in this fine weather. So, as I said, let's meet the horses. You already know Mr. Apollo, who's gotten bored with this already. And over here is Maverick, who apparently is also an attention hog. Maverick is a Mustang. I think he even has, does he have the brand? Maybe he doesn't have the brand. I thought I saw one on him once. But he is a Mustang. He and Apollo have been pasture mates for a few months now, and they're good friends. Apollo got jealous of me petting Maverick as usual, so here he is again to assert that I am his person and I should be the one paying attention to him. This is how it is when I come in the pasture. So anyway, here's Maverick. He is, as I said, he's a nice guy. He's a big guy. He's about as big as Apollo, but a little wider. Little, not fat, but thicker. Like, he's built. So, he's a very nice horse. I've never met his owner. I have no idea who owns him, but I like to pet him when I come out here because he is super friendly. And Apollo doesn't like me petting him because he's super jealous. Okay, a jealous horse. Let's go meet some others. Apollo's gonna just come with me. Make sure I'm not giving everyone else too much attention. Like his buddy over here. This is Mr. Luke, who's a pony. And Luke used to live in the same pasture as Apollo, but now he lives in the next pasture over. And there were some new horses like Maverick who came in a few months ago, and they did a big shuffle of who got along with who. Apollo gets along with everybody, so there was some shuffling that went on, and now Luke lives next door. And Luke used to be in the same pasture as Apollo, as I said, and he was totally Apollo's boss. Like, Apollo is twice his size, but listened to everything Luke told him. He was definitely had no problem being pushed around by this little guy. And so Luke definitely can have an attitude, as many ponies do. But he's a sweet boy. He doesn't get ridden much, if at all. I'm not really sure what his deal is, but he's just a pasture puff. But anyway, his owner loves him very much. His owner also has this other horse over here who, hi Apollo, let's go see over here. Here's another horse. Uh-oh, I forgot your name. I think it's Joe. Here's Joe, I think. He's another Palomino, just like Apollo. Never has lived with Apollo, they just talk over the fence. But he's a big guy, he's even bigger than Apollo. So he's way bigger than Luke, and he bosses Luke around. So Luke is no longer herd boss, which I'm sure is very sad for Luke the pony. But at least Luke and Apollo can still be best friends over the fence. They love each other. Luke and Apollo, they are just the best buds. They bonded immediately. Oh, there's some happy ears back there. Isn't that cute? Apollo's sniffing noses with Joe. So they, Luke and Apollo bonded immediately when they were put in together. And so they had some separation anxiety when Luke moved to the next pasture over. They spent basically the first week or two hanging out at the fence line as much as absolutely possible so that they could still be together. And since then, they've become better friends with their new pasture mates, so they're not as attached. But I'm sure they still love each other. It's just not as it was. Apollo, I do not want to be smushed, thank you. Okay, so over here, we're probably not going to get to meet Rave up close because he's not best friends with Apollo. But that's Rave, and he's the bottom of the pecking order here. So if I try to pet him, Apollo just makes him leave. Not mean, just makes faces at him till Rave goes away. But anyway, when I am allowed to pet Rave, he's also a nice boy. He just moved here, so that's why they're not great friends yet. He's only been in this pasture for a few weeks, and sometimes it takes that long. Sometimes horses can be friends right away, like Apollo and Luke were, and sometimes it takes a while. And sometimes horses are never friends, but I think they'll eventually get along. They're circling closer and closer together these days, and sharing food better and that sort of thing. So I think they'll get there eventually. Right now they just kind of tolerate each other. And Apollo just makes sure everybody knows that he is in charge around here, and especially because I'm here and I'm his person, and no, I am not their person, and they better know that. So anyway, oh, they're over there, Luke and Apollo, still best friends, kissing each other over the fence. So cute. So, as long as we're doing this tour, and I hope this is interesting enough when you're listening and not watching, but let's look at the rest of the pasture. For now, the horses are going to hang out up at the gate all together, but I bet once I get down here, they'll follow. We'll see. But anyway, Apollo lives in the Sierra foothills in Northern California. So it's kind of the transition zone from mountain to foothills, I would say. So it's pretty rugged, except it's also pretty developed because it's nice weather pretty much the year round. Not too hot in the summer compared to lower elevations, and not too cold compared to higher elevations in the winter. So it's a pretty nice place to live. He's got some pretty chill digs here. He's got this huge pasture. So it goes all the way back there. And you can see there's a lot of trees around. There's no barn for him to go into in the rain. There's no, or snow, there's no run-in shed. But he's got, it's like over here too, there's all these trees. And if you go way back to the end of the pasture, there's a path that goes back there, and it actually goes a ways past that also. So back there, there's an even more sheltered spot that is just basically like a natural windbreak with all the trees and the blackberry bushes. The whole pasture pretty much is lined with blackberry brambles. And so that provides a good windbreak, and also it's kind of nice if there was ever a problem with the fences. The blackberries would probably stop the horses from getting through in most places. So they're kind of an extra fencing. Don't think that's why there's so many blackberries. Like, I don't think they were encouraging blackberries here for that reason, but it kind of works out nice like that, in my opinion. And then also it's nice for me in the summer that I can come out here and pick as many blackberries as I want. And they are good blackberries, let me tell you. They are big and juicy and plentiful, and so I have no shortage of blackberries for the year if I am not too busy to come out and get them. And last year I kind of slacked. I was super busy, as I told you in the last episode, with school and stuff, so I didn't really get, I would just pick handfuls to eat while I was out here. I never came out with a bucket to collect them like I wanted to, but this year I'm gonna do that. So Apollo's thinking about coming down and, where is he? Joining me down here. There he is. So today I went on this ride, this trail ride. It wasn't really trails, but I guess you could still call it a trail ride. And we went around the block. It was just me and this other lady and her horse Reflection. And hi, Paulo. And so we had this wonderful conversation about beginner horse person mistakes. And it was, did you seriously move up here so you could pee right next to me? Thank you. I don't need that. Horses. You're probably picking up that sound on the camera. Yeah, my horse loves me. Things beginner horse people don't know. Probably that's one of them. If your horse loves you, wow, here's some excitement. What is going on? Hold that thought. I gotta go see what the horses are all wound up about. There's some snorting and running going on. It's all very exciting. So, if your horse loves you, he might seek you out so that he can pee right next to you. Isn't that sweet? What were you all running around about? Well, whatever it is, it's over now. So I'm gonna have a seat in my favorite spot in my outdoor office here. This giant rock formation that has a lot of good little benches for sitting. So, sorry if you're watching. I should have put this on a tripod, but I didn't. So, anyway, what was I saying? Oh, beginner horse mistakes. So, I've talked before in season 2, 1, whatever, a while ago, about my mistakes when I bought Apollo. And, you know, buying for looks. Of course, I didn't just buy him for looks, but I mean, look at that horse. Hi, Apollo, you're so pretty. How can anyone not just fall instantly in love with you when you're being a nice horse? Her daughter and son-in-law are buying their first horse, and she's been a horse person for decades, most of her life, and so she's helping them with learning what to do and learning what they need to know about being new horse owners. And so one of the things that she was teaching them was about how to, what was her expression? Ride the horse you own that day, or ride the horse you have that day. Because one horse is not, you know, horses are not cars, horses are not bicycles, they have personality. And I'm not using that in the Pirelli sense. If you are a Pirelli person and use the term horsenality, I just mean, you know, they're not people, they're horses, so they have horsenality, not personality. But they are unique, and they have feelings and thoughts. Apollo's expressing some feelings right now about Mr. Maverick over here getting attention, for example. And so they're going to be having, you know, maybe they got up on the wrong side of their bed, whatever you want to call it. They got up on the wrong side of the pasture this morning, or they're just not feeling quite great, or they're real excited about something, or the weather's different and they're feeling frisky because it's suddenly cool after being hot, or warm after being freezing, or whatever it is. And so you have to pay attention to your horse and see what kind of horse they are today. Do they need to, are they thinking? Are they sleepy? Are they cranky? Are they frisky? How are they today? What do they need? Because you can come to the barn with a plan, but that doesn't mean your horse is going to be with you for that plan. And yeah, you could continue with your plan, but you might have a more pleasant and more successful day if you are not sticking to that plan and are taking into account your horse in this plan. So it's good to be flexible. Maybe instead of going out on a trail ride, your horse is just too wound up and you need to do some groundwork or some arena work first. Maybe instead of doing advanced maneuvers, you need to back it down a little bit. Maybe instead of recovering the basics, you need to step it up a little bit. You know, it's up to you, but it's also kind of up to your horse, because if you're going to be working together, then you both kind of get a say in it. And anyway, that's something that sometimes new horse people don't realize or don't consider, that is good to know. And that way you're not so frustrated when you get to the barn and your horse is not doing what you want. Just to remember to be flexible. Another good thing that she's teaching her new horse owning family is check your cinch 3 times. Once is not sufficient, 2 is better, but 3, that's the ticket. I thought that was kind of funny because I actually only check mine twice. Well, that's not true. Sometimes I check it like 5 or 6 times. But on a typical, like if I'm just going out on, like today, just an hour and a half ride, I'll tighten it and then I'll check it right before I get on, and that's it. But it really would be smart to check it again, you know, 5 minutes down the road and make sure the saddle hasn't loosened up. I'm a little lax with that, and there have been times where I've gone to dismount where the saddle is loose and kind of rolls with me, but I've become a balanced enough rider that unless, and sometimes even when Apollo maybe spooks and jumps sideways, the saddle still stays centered. And certainly just for normal movement, it stays centered, but it's always good to check it once you've been riding for a few minutes. So that was a good little reminder for me that maybe I should start doing that. Yeah, probably. But anyway, let's see, what else is good things for horse owners that are new owners? Feeding is very important. I think I already did the episode about Apollo's feeding program. If I'm just thinking of one I planned, then I promise I'll talk about it in the future. But basically, horses have very sensitive tummies, and sometimes they can die, or at least require very high vet bills if you don't carefully feed them and keep their diet consistent. If you make sudden changes, it can be too hard on them, and they can get tummy aches, and tummy aches can be fatal for horses. So Apollo has a remarkably adaptable digestive system for a horse, where I changed his diet every day on the road. But for him, change became normal. And the first couple weeks on the road, I was more careful about that as much as possible, to not feed him anything that was extremely different. I tried to keep it sort of standardized. But some horses are not able to tolerate even a small change. And so if you just got a horse, you don't know yet what their constitution is like, and you should be, better safe than sorry. And make sure you feed them appropriately, and also the kind of calorie intake that they need for the work that they're going to get. Otherwise you'll end up with a super fat or a super thin horse, as well as the risk of vet bills if you feed them wrong. So they got bored with this camera thing and they've left. So anyway, now if you're watching instead of just listening, you're just going to get this lovely view of the sky and tree until they decide to see what I'm still doing over here, if at all. Other new horse owner mistakes. Let's see. Oh, another good one we talked about was the difference between letting your horse get out all of their bucks and farts and fart bucks and buck farts or whatever you want to call them, and running around and doing all their zoomies versus lunging them properly, where you are not just running them in circles to get the energy out, but you're actually engaging their mind and making a connection. And there's a huge difference. And this is something that I think often gets lost in translation whenever you're first learning about lunging a horse and about horsemanship and training and whatever it is that you're first learning. When people first start taking horse lessons, it's in the saddle. Like, I don't know hardly anyone who starts off their first horse lesson by learning how to lunge a horse or how to work them at liberty in a round pen. Like, that's just not a thing for your first lessons. And if you have been taking lessons a while and then get your first horse, you might not even think of it. Or maybe, maybe at that point you've learned. Maybe you get your first horse and then start taking lessons. And your instructor doesn't maybe teach you about lunging. I never learned about lunging when I was taking lessons for the first several years. And when I did learn about it, that was definitely something I was taught, is that when you put them in the round pen and you work them there, or if you put them on a lunge line and you work them there, that it's about getting some of that extra energy before you get in the saddle. And that's great. Like, if you're doing it for that reason, fine. I'm not going to tell you not to. Like, that's a valid reason. Sometimes horses just need to get out their bucks and do some zoomies before they're ready to focus and work. But there are valid training reasons to lunge a horse. And this is something that a lot of people, I feel like, don't really grasp or haven't been taught or don't value as much as it could be. I know it's maybe more thought of as something just for dressage people, that you put them on the, I forgot the word, the side reins, and you lunge them with the side reins or whatever. But you don't even have to use side reins or whatever. You can just have them loose in at liberty in your round pen and work them. And it's not just about getting the zoomies out. Although getting the zoomies out is a valuable thing. Once the zoomies are out, then it's important to make like a psychological connection, I guess you can say, with your horse without sounding too mystical about it or whatever. I like natural horsemanship, but not even in a natural horsemanship sort of way. Just, if you're gonna have a good ride, then it's important your horse is listening to you. And if they are running around like a wild beast, and then you say, okay, enough, and you put the saddle on, and they never once stopped while running around all crazy like to consider you at all, then how do you expect them to really pay attention to you once you get that saddle on either? Also, horses have, generally speaking, pretty much way more energy than they're gonna get out just running around in the arena or a round pen or on a lunge line or whatever. You counter them a few times around, even 5 or 10 minutes, they probably have more energy than that. And it might take a little bit of the edge off, but not necessarily enough. Some horses, it depends on the horse. Like I said, riding the horse you have that day. It's just something to think about. Everybody has different ideas about how to train a horse, how to condition a horse, how to ride a horse, how to connect with a horse, or whether you even need to. Whatever, you do you. But it's just something interesting we were talking about that I thought I'd share with you also, is just, I don't know, just learn. Learn different things, learn different ways of doing it. Just because your trainer taught you one way, or your barn friends do it one way, or your favorite whoever that you follow on social or on whatever, that you went to some clinic for, does it one way, doesn't mean it's the only way, or necessarily even the best way. It might be a good way, and maybe one of the things that that person does is the best way for their horse. Doesn't mean it's the best way for your horse. Maybe it is the best way for your horse, but then this other stuff they do is not the best thing for your horse or for you. So keep an open mind. Learn from many people and try many different things, and you'll be a better horse person for it. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Just kidding, we're gonna keep going. I have more things to say. Of course I do. Oh my gosh, how have I not podcasted for several months? I have so much to talk about. Another beginner mistake that is for the horse's safety is that you should buy the proper saddle, and even more, possibly more importantly, buy the proper saddle pad. Because sometimes, maybe not all the time, but it's common enough that a new horse person, when they're buying their stuff, will maybe buy, especially with the pads, they'll buy one that's super cushy and soft and thick because it looks really comfortable. They like that it's thick and squishy and provides a lot of cushion. But saddle pads don't need to be cushioned like that if your saddle fits well. Unless your horse has a certain back problems of some kinds, you might need that kind of cushioning and thick support, but generally not. So if you are a new horse owner, you should seek advice from a more experienced person when you are buying your saddle and your saddle pad. And if you, for some reason, don't know any, go make some friends. Join a forum. Do something, because saddles are like shoes. Let me say that better. A saddle on a horse's back is like a shoe on our foot. You could just go to the store and buy, a pair of cowboy boots because it's pretty. But if you wear a size 8 shoe and you bought a size 5 shoe or a size 10 shoe, that's not going to feel good no matter how good it looks. And even if it's the right size, if it's too wide or too narrow, or the arch is wrong, or something doesn't fit right and it's pinching your toes or pinching your heels, or whatever, it's gonna hurt. And if it feels kind of okay at the store, and then you go out and you go on a hike, or you walk around all day or stand all day for your job or something, your feet might hurt at the end of the day if they're not actually a good fit. For a saddle, it's the same thing. If your horse has a wider back or a narrower back or a flat back or a peaked back, it's gonna fit different for what kind of saddle fit they need. And just like your foot, there can be small differences. Just because it's the right size on the label doesn't mean that it's gonna fit your toes and your heel and etc. all great. And so it's important to make sure that you really fit their back well. If it doesn't fit well, you could maybe get away with you know, being a weekend trail rider and no real problems, although your horse might not be comfortable, they'll probably not be injured. But really, you love your horse, and so you want them to be comfortable. And that's probably why you were buying that super thick saddle pad also, because you want them to be comfortable. But buying a cushioned saddle pad is not going to fix a badly fit saddle. So it's like trying to get, if your shoes don't fit right and you just get thick socks and shove them in those shoes, it might add some cushioning, but it just might make the shoes fit tighter, or it might help in some areas and not fix other areas. So anyway, I should probably maybe I should do a whole episode on saddle fit, but I just wanted to throw that out there as if you are a new horse owner and you are getting ready to buy your first saddle, or if you're getting ready to change your saddle pad or whatever, make sure your saddle fits and make sure your saddle pad is correct for your saddle and not super thick, unless you have a very specific reason that you're buying a very thick pad. And so no haters in the comments. I know there are reasons that sometimes it makes sense to do things differently, like to have a very thick pad. So I get it. But for the average person, that's not the case. So anyway, I think that was pretty much it. Like, we had a good conversation. It was fun having a nice little ride in this beautiful weather, and we talked about so many good things that I thought, you know what? This was not what I planned this episode to be about, but whatever. Just like riding the horse that you have for the day, it's good to be flexible and just podcast on whatever topic makes sense for the day. I don't even know where I'm going with this. Anyway, bye. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked this new format. And if you are joining for the first time, you can find this, the podcast on pretty much anywhere you can stream podcasts under Have Horse Will Travel. I will, if this works, I will do this video format again in the future as well. And so you should be able to find this on YouTube as well. Gosh, I hope this works. And check out my old videos on YouTube under the Centaur Ride channel. There are links for all of these things in the description down below. So check it out. Come back again. I am aiming to do a new episode every 2 weeks. So I think I can keep up with that schedule. We'll see. So no guarantees, but that's the plan. So anyway, thanks for watching or listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye. And here's King of the Mud Horses after I just brushed him. Oh, look how muddy he is. And that's Maverick. Thanks for photobombing, Maverick. Was that a good roll, Apollo? It's happy noises.